That day, Kofi walked to a small internet cafe in a nearby town, his worn-out sandals kicking up dust on the unpaved road. He was on a familiar mission. To print yet another set of CVs. He'd lost count of how many he'd sent out. Dozens. Hundreds. It felt like shouting into a void. The cramped internet cafe was a hive of activity, packed with young people just like him. Their faces were illuminated by the glow of old computer screens. Some were filled with a bright, fragile hope, their fingers flying across keyboards as they applied for their dream jobs. Others, however, had a different look of quiet despair that seemed to weigh their shoulders down, their gazes lost somewhere between the flickering cursor and a future that felt increasingly out of reach. Kofi paid the attendant, collected his freshly printed paperswarm from the printer, holding so much potential yet feeling so useless, and began the long walk home. The sun beat down, but he barely noticed. His mind was a whirlwind of rejections, both real and imagined. As he approached his family's small house, the comforting smell of his mother's cooking reached him. Essie was in their smoky kitchen, skillfully preparing a simple meal of banku and pepper. The aroma was always inviting, a small comfort in a world of uncertainty. But today, the air in the house was thick with unspoken tension. She turned as he entered, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. "Kofi, my son. Welcome home," she said gently. Her voice was soft, but the question hung in the air between them. "An news? Did you hear back from anyone about an interview?" Kofi couldn't meet her gaze. He just shook his head, a single, heavy movement. "No, Mama. Nothing yet," he muttered, the words tasting like ash in his mouth. He saw the deep lines of worry etched into her forehead, lines that seemed to have been carved by his own failures. In that moment, he felt the weight of her hopes, her sacrifices, and his own seemingly endless struggle all at once. He sat down at the small wooden table, the silence stretching between them. Essie placed a bowl of food in front of him, her touch on his shoulder a fleeting gesture of comfort. He knew she was trying her best, but every kind word felt like a reminder of his inability to provide, to change their circumstances. He looked at his CVS, lying next to his plate. Each page was a summary of his education, his skills, his potential. But what good was potential if no one was willing to give it a chance? He wondered how many more days would start with this fragile hope and end with this crushing disappointment. That night, sleep didn't come easily. Kofi lay on his thin mat, staring at the ceiling, listening to the sounds of the night. He thought about his friends who had managed to find work, some in the city, others in trades. He felt a pang of envy, quickly followed by a wave of guilt. Was he not trying hard enough? Was he not good enough? The questions echoed in the darkness. But then, a different thought began to form. A tiny spark in the gloom. What if he was looking in the wrong places? What if the path he was meant to walk wasn't the one everyone else was on? He remembered the stories his grandfather used to tell. Stories of innovation, of creating something from nothing. Maybe the answer wasn't in finding a job, but in creating one. The next morning, Kofi woke up with a new sense of purpose. The despair hadn't vanished completely, but it was no longer all He walked past the internet cafe, his destination different this time. He went to the local market, not to buy, but to observe. He watched the vendors, the artisans, the farmers. He saw needs that weren't being met, gaps in the market that no one was filling. He spoke to people, listened to their complaints, their wishes. An idea began to take root in his mind, small at first, but growing with every conversation. It was a risky idea, one that would require more courage than any job application. It wouldn't be easy, and the path was uncertain. But for the first time in a long time, as he walked home that evening, Kofi felt not the weight of despair, but the exhilarating thrill of possibility. The journey was far from over, but a new chapter had just begun. Thanks for watching our story. If you've ever felt like Kofi, remember that sometimes the greatest opportunities are the ones we create for ourselves. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more content that inspires. See you next time.